or clinic chats. We've not figured out a name yet, but today we're joined with
Sven Herzog.
And where are you working currently?
Currently I'm working with the first division football club in Germany, Mainz 05, and I'm holding the role of head of performance.
Nice. So, as I've previously stated, this is a little new series I'm coming out with, where I approach clinic topics or conference topics, get a speaker on and sort of discuss a little topic or a little question that I had during the presentation, and then we sort of dive into a little bit more of the finite information. So you obviously work with Moxy. I've personally used Moxy before, love it. But how are you using it with the free ball, and what kind of data are you getting from it, and how is that then implemented for their progression in their training?
So right now we introduced that almost 6 months ago, and we started off with the baseline testing. We used it for an incremental step test, and then we used the thresholds and applied them on the pitch. So we tracked their GPS data and SMO2 data at the same time.
Okay.
And so we decided to track 4v4 versus 11 versus 11, worst case scenario.
What were some of the data that you got from the 4v4 and 11v11?
It looks completely different. Like the 4v4 is, maybe for the audience, it's like VO2 effort, and you can see that also at the SMO2 levels. Everybody is hitting ET2 or is above the entire 4 minutes,
Okay.
and so it's really high stress on the muscles.
Yeah. What does that then mean in terms of like how much oxygen production are they getting to the muscle and then able to recover enough to make the next play?
I mean, we don't know yet. So to be honest, so we just started off. Nobody has done it before because it's right now it's quite time consuming and a lot of work to do. And we are trying to publish it, but it's not. I cannot tell anything right now in terms of, okay, we figured out this scientific evidence. We can observe patterns right now, and we can see when we play 4v4, it seems to be an all-out or near to all-out effort for almost every player. And so, but metabolically, it's a really high stress, independent from their position. And during the bout, you don't see any resaturation at all. So there's just
it's just flatline.
From the onset of load, they drop, and they're sitting around VT2 or above, and that's also reflecting the heart rate data you get. So it's a little bit of delayed response, but it's the same reaction.
When you're still hooked up to the Moxys, how fast are they getting that surge of oxygen back after the bout is finished?
I mean, that's a good question. That really depends. Some players takes maybe 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and other players takes maybe more than a minute. And that's really interesting in terms of repeated sprintability. But I think we see more in the large-sided games because it's more specific.
Yeah. In terms of the specificity of it, how does that help your athletes then on a weekend where they're playing and they're now having to use those demands, but in a more competitive game?
Right now, we don't know because no, to be honest, it's what we see now. Why did I come up with this idea? Usually, every conditioning coach knows players, they perform in the lab, they can grind it out on a treadmill, and then you report to the coach, hey, this player has a high aerobic capacity, he can grind it out, and all of a sudden when he's out there on the pitch, you don't see it, and vice versa. Like players with average values, and on the pitch they can run forever, and actually sometimes we don't know why. And that was more or less my idea, to figure out, okay, what's going on when we play football, oxygen-wise, and what happens in between intensive actions. Because in football, in the Bundesliga, usually every 75 to 90 seconds we have an intensive action. That means an acceleration, change of direction, sprint, a jump, whatever, where a lot of oxygen is needed immediately. But we don't know what's going on in between, because heart rate doesn't show you anything.
Yeah, it just shows that you're exercising.
Exactly. And I think hopefully we see more in terms of what is the limiter of his performance. Respiratory problem, utilization problem.
How do you think the way that you're finding these trends, what would be some ways that we can start using it practically in the sense of developing some protocols to help this sort of energy uptake and then oxygen uptake back into those muscles?
Really depends on the limiters. I mean, if this guy has a respiratory issue, maybe more interval training doesn't help. He needs to train his respiratory system with a spiral tiger, whatever. Maybe if this guy has a utilization problem, then he has to do, for instance, we have good experience doing eccentric squats on the K-box with a flywheel, that helps. And then we also use them for cutoff values. Let's say you start, I don't count the reps, I just put down the Moxy, the Moxy app, and I tell him, hey, go as hard as you can, and as far down as you can. And then we stop, and then usually they can achieve that 3-4 times, and as soon as they don't get to that low value anymore, I stop. Because then I'm okay. He's exhausted.
Yeah. How have you found moxing up football players and the amount of players that you have? How was that task?
That's massive. I mean, seriously, that's why we don't right now. We can't use that on a daily basis, even sometimes not on a weekly basis, because it's so time consuming. Because in order to have really good accuracy, you need good placement. And when you're on the bike, it's quite easy, handy, because when you have tight compression short and you put it on this, it stays in place. But we use the BL muscle to track SMO2, and you have to take it. And it took us, for the on-field sessions, took us approximately 30 minutes to tape the entire team. And that's really time. Exactly. But it's worth doing it for pilot study. But hopefully with Moxy we can figure out pans or whatever which make it smoother. Because you need just a pan where you put on and it just stays there. But hopefully.
How has that been taken on by the athletes? Have they enjoyed, or have they seen benefits from using it?
I mean, right now, the footballers, they look at me and say, what the heck is this? You know, why should I use that? And you have to convince them, because the footballers, it's too complicated for them to really right now to understand. But what we try to do now, we want to implement that in January, that we kind of use it as a monitoring system also on the bike, that they are more used to it, and that they use it also with visual feedback.
So they'll actually be able to see the graphs.
Exactly, because it's easy on the bike, because then they can have their phone, it's just plug and play with Bluetooth, and they can read it on their own.
Yeah, in terms of the usability for them to see it, do you think that will make it more understandable for them as to why, and then you'll be able to get more out of it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think still a lot of work to do, but it's, as I said, I had to convince Moxy first, to jump in, and yeah, we started off in June this year, and now we're here, so we move forward.
Where are you expecting the Moxy and oxygen sort of research going from then on?
I think I was listening to an interesting talk of Fabio Nakamura today. He was talking about the 10 minutes or whatever minutes worst case scenario in football. And we are just talking about mechanical parameters. I would like to see that internally with Moxy.
For those who weren't here, his presentation was on should we base the training on the highest demands of the sport, and in short he said yes, you should, because and to me that made sense, because it's like if we're in the gym or if we're in a lab, we're basing everything off their 1 rep max, off their VO2 max. So why don't we do that in a performance sense where we test their hardest game? This is what we're working on. Yeah. So would you like to see the oxygen uptake?
I would like to see that, to correlate that with this data, because I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, because again, since using Moxy, I now start seeing oxygen as an energy system in itself. Where if that's not going into your muscles not working.
No, I avoid using the term anaerobic, because it's just, what is that? Anaerobic. As soon as you start moving, you can measure oxygen, and so that you're using oxygen right away. It doesn't matter how intense you go. When I stand up right now, I put a Moxy on, I can measure it, and I'm probably, hopefully not anaerobic. you know what I mean? And that's so that little bit misconception, the terminology, what got introduced many decades ago.
It's like the lactic acid being
exactly the enemy.
But then now that research has progressed, we have to see if we are smart enough, we can turn it into more energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think people will start coming around to the fact that oxygen is used as an energy system, and without it you cannot move your muscles?
Especially in football, everybody's looking for fast players, and we would like to see high velocities. By the end of the day, the game takes 90 minutes, and you have between 55 and 60 minutes of network playing time. I mean, that's an endurance sport with the ball, and you need a lot of oxygen to perform.
I mean, some of the metrics that come out on professional footballs and the distance that they cover during a single game,
I mean, our central midfielders, they cover between 12.5 and 13 on average, because we don't play ball possession.
Okay.
And we press all the time, so it's really demanding, and so you need a lot of oxygen.
Yeah, that's perfect. If you want to tell people where they can find you and reach out if they've got any questions.
I mean, I'm not on social media, so probably the easiest way is to maybe reach out to you.
Okay.
And because if I announce my email, I don't know whether I can really answer it. I'm too old for social media.
Okay.
And no, I'm joking. But it's easier maybe just to reach out to you.
And then I'll ask some questions.
Exactly.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.